Let's talk about one of the biggest stories within the Nigeria and West Africa space. The CFA currency blocks in West and Central Africa is now under scrutiny after France and the CFA franc West Africa announces the ditching of the CFA franc and adoption of the planned ECHO, but pegged it to the euro. ECOWAS has been pursuing common regional currency some 20 years with integration plans that include a monetary union and economic integration, among other pillars. Meantime, Ghana has issued official notice of joining the new ECHO currency and praises the move by West Africa's CFA franc community. France's political, economic, trade and currency interests in West Africa and around Nigeria's eastern bloc of Central Africa is now in sharp focus. As you may know, Nigeria is the big fish in the middle of the currency union and trade conundrum, not made easier by the new AfCFTA due to come into effect in the month of June 2020. Joining me now for this expansive conversation is John Isemede, who is an international trade expert and a Director General and CEO of NASIMA for the year 2020-2015. He spent many of his working life traveling across the African continent by road and by other means. So if anyone who understands ECOWAS currency integration and trade within the sub-region and beyond, here is the man. Good morning, Mr. Isemede. We appreciate your coming here.
Good morning. Thank you.
This is a very big conversation, but the best way to handle it is to go back to the foundation, the journey to the making of the ECHO currency. Give us some historical perspectives on how we arrive at where we are today.
Thank you very much. The viewers at home and in diaspora. It is interesting. This is my 6th time of coming to this studio to tell the world that West Africa is not ready for a common currency. We only attend meetings. When it comes to deliberations, we don't see Nigerians, and we sign agreements. It is interesting that yesterday, the Minister of Justice told the world that the over 600 agreements have been signed. Even as I'm talking, 400 of them cannot be traced. So the whole thing started as economic integration process or project. But today, it is more or less political intrigues.
Hadn't there been political intrigues from the very start? I spent some of my early days in my career in the print media reporting the conversation around the ECOWAS and the currency and whether we're going to have a common airline for the sub-region. So the politics have always been...
I will come to that. Today we are talking of ECHO. Now we are talking of ECHO. And before I finish this project, I will tell you we have 3 different scenarios. The first one is the original ECHO. The one that was hijacked last week was the second ECHO in the pipeline, which they now want Nigeria and other members to join. The third one will be that of Cameroon or the Central African Bloc. Let me give you the background perspective. There are 196 countries in the world. Africa has 54. And West Africa has 15 plus 1. We have been in this process since 1999. France and Cote d'Ivoire did not start from North Africa. To tell Egypt to surrender their pound, Libya to surrender their dinar, Tunisia to surrender their dinar, Algeria their dinar, and Morocco their dirham. They did not go to East Africa to tell Kenyans, surrender your shilling. Uganda, surrender your shilling. Ethiopia surrender your birr, or Rwanda surrender your franc. They did not go to South Africa or Southern Africa to say surrender your rand. Namibia surrender your pound. Surrender your dollar. Zimbabwe surrender your dollar. Zambia surrender your kwacha. Or why West Africa? Is it because we are so weak? When I said it's a political maneuver or a political intrigue, let us look at the whole setting. It all started with EPA. EPA did not work out. And the next thing was to move to, what do you call the other one? After the EPA, Morocco joining the ECOWAS. Today, it's what we have put together for 20 years that we want to hijack for Nigeria to be a second-class citizen in a continent where we control close to 20% of the population.
If we spend about 20 years working on this before the phrase hijack comes in. If it had worked so well, why didn't we float the echo for about 2 decades?
We have not worked well. Let us take it, let's go to the historical perspective. I won't start from the days of Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. Countries around the world have plans. When the Japanese suffered, they don't want to go to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They came up with plans. Germans, the First World War, lost all their colonies, came up with the German plan. Today, Germany, with 83 million people, they have the strongest economy in Europe. All right, let us start from 1914. 1940 was when we had the First World War. And when the First World War ended in 1918, what was discussed was because there was room for reconstruction and rehabilitation. That was why there was no European Union. But the Europeans came together in Belgium and said there must be a central bank because payment and movement of capital and all that will be involved. In 1920, the decision taken was that all countries across the globe must have central bank. And that period, it was only 2 countries in Africa that were independent. Liberia in 1847 and South Africa in 1910. All right, that same year in 1920, what the British did, all right, Britain had their own central bank as far back as 1694. The reserve in America was in 1913, while Japan was 1882, and so on and so forth. In 1920, the West African Currency Board was set in Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, and Gambia and Sierra Leone, because Liberia belonged to the Americans. What did we see? Currency of West Africa was introduced in the West African space. Ghana used that currency for 37 years. When Ghana got independent in 1957, that to throw away the West African currency, introduced the cedi. Nigeria in 1959, we still use the British currency till 1982. Nigeria used that currency for 52 years. And in 1941, the French introduced the CFA. It was not actually introduced in 1945, it was introduced in 1941 under Charles de Gaulle. And what did we see? It was introduced during the Second World War to pay soldiers in Central West Africa, and for few students, the African students who were students in University de Chak de Anta Diop, now you call University of Dakar. The Bretton Woods Agreement came up in 1944 that all currencies in the world must bow before the dollar. The dollar is the #1 currency in the world. In 1945, France signed the agreement and joined the Bretton Woods Agreement. Today, we put all sorts of things in place. Some of us just laugh. You are talking of currency swap.
Is the common currency union the move to have echo in West Africa, a global power wrangling issue?
Not really, because of in our ability to manage. I will give you the exchange rates and all that. That is because of the weakness.
We've put in structures within the last 20 years. We had the WAMI, we have the rest of them you've worked with.
Yes.
1 or 2 of these institutions. So we've put in structures over 2 decades to try and...
Most of these are structures without foundation. By the time I give you the background, I will give you Echo 1, Echo 2, and before I finish, you see that there's possibility of Echo 3. And whether this Echo 1, Echo 2, and Echo 3 will come together and form this will be
so what was wrong with WAMI? What's wrong with WAMSI?
WAMI, no, let me continue. In 1945, France signed into the Bretton Woods Agreement. And by 1948, that currency was devalued just to promote export of agricultural produce from West Africa, West and Central Africa. And if you now talk of the CFA, there are 2 groups, the West Africa and the Central Africa. If you go to Badagry, what you see is different from what you see in Calabar, because you can see at the border point of different currencies, but they can interchange. It's only the coins that you cannot take from Central Africa to West Africa.
But they all
yes.
pegged. They all.
So
the headquarters is in France.
ECOWAS was put in place in 1975, and what did we see? Free movement of goods and services, common currency, and it was 25 years later when I presented the paper in Abuja that some of these things have no structure. That the only thing that can make us to fly is to have the ECOWAS court and ECOWAS parliament. That was when J.J. Rawlings, president of Ghana, was the chairman of ECOWAS. Today, we can see the ECOWAS parliament, we can see the ECOWAS court. And not only that, how have we fared in these 25 years?
So there have been structure. That's part of the structure.
The
parliament and the court.
All right.
Then you have the currency, which is the central bank.
The central bank of all of there were 10 central banks out of the 16 countries.
Yes.
All right. There were 8 French-speaking countries. But in 1995, because of the problems of this currency and all that, Guinea-Bissau surrendered their currency. That is today they are part of the CFA. Nigeria had central bank, which was established in 1959. Ghana has a central bank that was established in 1957. Liberia had their own central bank. There was a time Liberia was using the American dollar and all that. Sierra Leone and Gambia. Out of the 10 currencies we had, 1 surrendered, became 9. Mauritania pulled out, now 8. Out of the 8 currencies, 1 belonged to 9 of them, which is the French-speaking country plus 1 Lusophone. And the control is from France. Today you talk of budget, you talk of exchange rate, you talk of interest rate, you talk of monetary policy. Those things are not known in the Francophone countries. You talk of import and export. What they do there is arrival. And in 1975, we talk of free movement. We talk of single currency. We talk of the West Africa Clearing House. We are talking of a single currency. The West Africa Clearing House, failure, it was changed to WAMA, West Africa Monetary Agency. But what has come to our aid as exporters at that time was the new generation banks. So today, where have we found that?
So we've come together again and said, look,
so
let us make this work.
Let us make it work, but we must have a structure, and we already have a structure. If that structure was solid enough, will France come? Because France or Côte d'Ivoire, the Francophone country, has never been part of WAMI.
What exactly was the problem with WAMI and WAMSE?
All right, let me give you the 3 scenarios. The WAMI started in 1999. That was the same year France surrendered their currency to the euro. You have the European Central Bank, located in Belgium, located in Germany. Out of the 28 European members, Britain and others are not members. 9 of them are not members, and there are only 19 members. You know, Christine Lagarde is now the governor. All right. When WAMI was put in place, what was agreed was that in another 5 or 10 years, we will now have a single currency. I've attended all their meetings, and I've told them that I don't see this possible because the policy of Ghana is different from that of Nigeria. That of Nigeria is different from that of Gambia. That of Gambia is different from that of Sierra Leone. And now let me continue. Somewhere along the line, they were saying that eco currency will be introduced in the year 2000. Nothing was put in place in regard of meeting or printing currency. 2 or 3 or 4 Nigerians have served in Ghana, either as governor or as head of that place. And none of them has ever given us technical report of the progress so far.
If we don't necessarily have a common currency, at least we have a common trade market, isn't it?
Yeah.
So whether we like it or not, whether we use 10, 5, 3 currencies in West Africa, we will definitely continue to have trade relations. And this trade relation has been there for donkey years.
Yes. I started export business in 1985. There were no banks. And what we were doing was to route our SC through the European Union and America. Sometimes you don't even get your money in 6 months. By the time the new generation bank started in 1991, and let us sometimes remember our past leaders and all that. Late Chief Giwa and some group of people, later Sabia, put BIB in Benin with the hope of expanding the business in West Africa. It did not work because of the proximity to Nigeria, illicit trade, and the differential in VAT. VAT in Nigeria is 5%. In Benin Republic is 20%. So when we are talking of integration, people signing an agreement, you first of all consult professors and the experts. Let us be very honest with ourselves, because there's the crack in ECOWAS that the Anglophones are not working with the Francophone. If the Anglophones are working together, there's no reason why Guinea-Bissau will join the CFA. All right, let us slightly look at it. Ghana is the place housing the central bank for the main time. Maybe it will continue or not, I don't know.
For the Anglophone?
For the Anglophone countries.
Yes.
And we have been...
And both countries, Nigeria and Ghana, came under the British rule.
This is my research work under WAMI for the past 20 years. And funny enough, Ghana did the same thing to us in 1957.
Ghana and Nigeria had
the big players.
Yes, and Britain
the big players.
As a common colonial.
The Francophone, the West African currency, Ghana was the first to pull out in 1957. So also the West African line to come up with the Black Star. In 2008, Ghana now secretly, after a meeting, went to sign the EPA. And when I went to Ghana to question, they said, look at it that we only export agricultural produce to the EU. And I said that Nigeria is exporting cocoa. We started exporting cocoa beans as far back as 1910. Over 100 years, we have not been able to add value. So we cannot blame the French, right from the days of Charles de Gaulle to what we are seeing today. If we have come together and we are working abroad, it will not be like this. What they have seen is that there's a crack in the house, so I can take you over.
So when we look at what I just put this in context and fast forward into 2019, 2020, President Buhari says, look, Nigeria had been a very good brother and a very good friend of West African countries. And that's historical, and that's not in doubt.
It's not in doubt.
But he says, those what Mr. President says, part of his January 1st, 2020 speech, that Nigeria will not stand by and see its economic progress or economic reform sabotaged. And that's the exact word, sabotaged.
That is why we are here.
So the question now is, if we talk about the sabotage, so where do we go from here?
Where we have to go from here is that
for 2020.
Let us go.
AFCFTA is due June 2020.
Yes.
Where in 2020?
When I started the export business or import and all that, there was nothing like common currency. We were doing well.
So what's your advice here?
My advice is that we go back to the days of Gowon. When the Naira was introduced, the younger ones did not know there was something like pound shilling pence in the country. When you did your common entrance, what you do? It was pound shilling pence. But when you did your school start, it was Naira and Kobo. And what was the Naira at that time? When the Naira was introduced in 1972, it was less than 50 Kobo. And during the time of Gowon, it was the same 50 Kobo. When General Olusegun Obasanjo handed over to President Shehu Shagari, it was 50 Kobo. When the 20 Naira was introduced, we were young undergraduates. It was equivalent, in the black market, it was equivalent to $45.
The highest
in the world. There are old men who went to Saudi Arabia in the 70s and 80s. They were going with Naira.
So what do you want Nigeria to do? What do you advise Nigeria to do? So, here we are, the CFA from West Africa folks says, look, we're going for the ECO.
We are going
to peg this to the euro. The Ghanaians issued a statement officially and said, look, we are in bed with the CFA front guys for dropping the CFA front. Thank you. We are joining the ECO as well. Where does that leave Nigeria?
All right, thank you. Let's now go to the second ECO. If Ghana has to join the other Francophone countries, let's now go to ECO 2. Ghana has been the midwife all along. Nothing was done as regard, because you don't just introduce currency, you have to mint or print. Nothing was done. If you now look at the decision taken by France, there are 9 countries using the CFA. And this CFA has been tied to the French bank as far back as 1945. In 1948, there was a devaluation. In 1994, as we were putting this thing together, there was another devaluation. The people of Niger, I had some existing SEs. I went to Niger and some other places. Is it possible, even if the Naira, today, if the Naira is tied to the British pound, Britain can devalue the currency without our knowledge? Because the governor of central bank of the Francophone countries, based in France, but who were told is in Dakar, they now Kone, then other Francophone countries only have currency centers. The painful aspect of it is that when we are doing things in West Africa, we come out as giants. We don't even seek the opinion and this of experts.
One of the ways to deliver a common currency is to have a convergence criteria.
The convergent criteria,
yes, had been set.
Nigeria was able to meet that criteria. Nigeria and Gambia, 2006 and 2007.
We haven't met all.
I was told that Togo has met under the Francophone, which is true. Togo has been more sophisticated. Togo was once a German colony. Even when we were going to Togo in the 70s and 80s, Togo was much more sophisticated than other countries in the sub-region. And if you look at the Francophone arrangement, the central bank is in Dakar, controlling all the 9 countries, while the stock exchange is in Abidjan, which is different from us. Now, we have to go back to business and straighten our naira. Why did France not go to America? Why did they not go to Brazil? Why did they not go to India, Pakistan, East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, Nepal, and tell them to surrender their currency?
The point is that with the convergence criteria, inflation, debt, whatever, we haven't met all of this.
We have not.
Yes, thank you.
Because they now say a single-digit inflation.
Yes.
There is no country in West Africa that has single-digit inflation. There is no, all right, in Nigeria, the percentage of the tax to GDP is only 6%. And they are saying 10%.
Yes.
And you know the criteria, they are mainly 4. They are 10 in number, but 4 major ones. Your foreign reserve must cover your import bill for at least 3 months. None of these countries. So why are we deceiving ourselves?
But
if you are not qualified,
we have that. We have at least 3 months.
If we have
Import
3
cover.
months,
Import cover.
What of others? Because it's going. Are we now saying that we are going to carry the problem of others like Greece? Don't we have Portugal?
So why we bicker over a single currency or currency union? We need to move on with trade, whether we like it or not.
We have been trading. I was importing and exporting.
Yes,
because
but we need
our
to do,
currency,
but now we have the EFCFTA, and then we have the border closure in the middle of this entire.
The EFCTA did not say that we must use a single currency.
Yes, it doesn't.
All right. The other thing we have to look at is that because your neighbor is this does not mean that you should follow. You should look at your capacity. Look at Europe. Germany lost all their colonies. Togo was a German colony given to France. Cameroon was a German colony. Namibia was a German colony. Tanzania was a German colony. Today, Germany has no colony in Africa. Britain has 20 colonies. If you now take Commonwealth, they have 22 because of Mozambique and Cameroon that are members of the Commonwealth. France has almost 30 because all the small islands off the coast of Tanzania are French-speaking. Mm-hmm. All right, if you look at the whole scenario, Germany with a population of 83 million has a GDP of 3 trillion with per capita income of $50,000. Look at Nigeria, 200 million. As at the time we got independent, our population was 50 million. Today we are 200 million. So we need to work internally, not joining other people and taking all their responsibilities because we take our best out under the technical aid call. Go and help other countries. We have invested so much. We have had the ECOWAS Secretariat in Abuja for 48 years. What have we achieved? Compared with Belgium.
President Obasanjo was convinced not to sign on into the eco currency while he was in office. Do you think President Buhari will be persuaded to do or not to do the same?
If we are able to meet the criteria.
When?
The day we meet the criteria. Because you don't enter university if you don't have the requirement. Otherwise, you will not pass. When Ghana signed the EPA, I went to Ghana in 2009 and asked. They said they signed because of Nigeria. Nigeria has a population of close to 200 million that can absorb 20 million people in Ghana. Can Ghana absorb any place in West Africa? We control about 60% of the population and about 70% of, not the resources of the market. So the EFTA, the ECOWAS and all that should be on the shoulder of Nigeria. We are the big elephant. If South Africa can control the South African bloc.
So when you look at the sound bites and the body language from the Nigerian authorities, does it really look like, yes, we've done so much for the sub-region and indeed the entire African continent?
We have done more than enough. We have done more than enough for other African countries.
But my point is, where is foreign economic foreign policy here?
If you look at Nigerian foreign policy, Africa is the cornerstone. That is why we send troops to Liberia. We're in Gambia and all that. Then Nigeria trade policy has not been signed. We have economic diplomacy. So these are some of the things we need to review. Because if a population of 200 million has only a foreign reserve of 39 billion, it shows that Nigeria is a very poor country. So we cannot take the problem of other people all in the name of integration, because this whole thing started as economic integration, but now it's now political intrigues. And if you look at it, Britain was the first country to move. The Prime Minister at that time, Churchill Whitty, in 1945 said, we need a solid Europe. But when they were putting the Treaty of Rome in 1951-57, that was actually signed in 57 and took off in 58 in Brussels, Britain was not there. They only joined in 1973, Ireland and Denmark. As others were progressing, others were joining. But here is all Tea Party. When ECOWAS was introduced in 1975, here in Lagos, I was in the senior secondary school. We had good teachers. The only country that was not present at the signing ceremony was Quebec because of flight connection. It was in 1981 they actually joined fully. How have we progressed in this sub-region that Nigeria has to carry all the things? We are talking of eco-currency when the Naira was the currency of West Africa when we were undergraduates. From Uniben, we used to take vehicle to Liberia. It was Naira. People were going to London with Naira. Let us now go back to the Naira.
Sierra Leone is looking at a currency swap with Nigeria. That was in the news last week.
Sierra Leone is in a currency swap. What is a currency swap? Currency swap is West African Clearing House, which I did with Ghana in 1995. Ghana got their hand burnt because the currencies of West Africa, what is the exchange rate of the Naira to the US dollar? Because under the Bretton Woods, all currencies of the world are tied to the dollar. Is it 305 or 306? Sierra Leone has the weakest currency in West Africa, which is 10,000 to $1 US. What we are saying in essence is that Sierra Leone house the West Africa Clearing House. What has been the performance of that clearing house from 1975? Count the number of years that we cannot even trade among ourselves. In the sense that when you say currency swap, you fill your Form M or NSP and all that, you take it to Central Bank like the other, but there is no currency transfer. They get their own local currency. But in currency swap, when there is devaluation at any side, is the exporter that loses. Because if Sierra Leone now had to invoice their currency, the leu, which is 10,000 to $1 US, and by the time they are paying Nigeria is 15,000, but they have to pay 15,000. When we had that with Ghana, that was the time we were bringing palm oil from Ghana under the ECOWAS TLS. Ghana, you know, Ghana currency was the weakest in West Africa by 2006, 2007, when it was almost 10,000 to $1 US. It was 9,200. It was redenominated to 0.2. Today, as I'm talking to you, Ghana currency is 6. Within 10 years, now we are talking of 12 years, the currency has devalued by more than 700%. These are the things when government officials are talking.
So do you think the trade liberalization scheme is in tatters right now?
The trade liberalization is intact. I have used it.
Intact,
it's
not
intact.
in tatters.
Not in tatters, but the truth is that a lot of people don't know how to do it. You start from after registration, you start with the documentation. This transaction is under ECOWAS TLS. I used it. I was the third person to use the ECOWAS TLS in Nigeria. It was Toyo Glass. This one producing bottles, number one. The other one producing Maggi and all that. Next thing, number two, I was the export manager of Unilever. And we were the third. The records are there. So some of these things we are saying at the government level is not new to us in the private sector.
So what is the fight, therefore? What's the quarrel between Nigeria and Ghana and CFA Frank West Africa? Well, I don't know what to call them right now because they've joined the ECO, which is not a currency in existence yet. Nobody has printed anyone. But they're tied to the euro, so I don't know what's going on there. I may need to travel out. So
today I have on my record ECO 1, ECO 2, and ECO 3. When you say ECO 1, that is the one we have worked on for 20 years in Premier Towers in Accra. Week was to take off 1st of 2020. You want to take off, there is no currency in place. No governor or central bank has been appointed for West Africa. We have not closed our central bank in Nigeria to be a currency center. We are still taking our budget 2001. So the truth of the matter is that government is on their own and the private sector is not helping matters. Then the second one is that the French and all that discover that there's a crack, that we have not been able to put this in together. The best thing is that in company there's what you call merger and acquisition. They want to acquire us. Some of us who are key players in this thing, even when we are not recognized, to keep quiet. The echo tool in place now is that the currency of West Africa, sorry, the currency of the Francophone people does not even belong to them, because decision on budget, exchange rate, interest rate, and all that belong to France. France surrendered their currency in 1991, the same year we started the WAMI. Today, the Francophone currency of the CFA is tied to the euro. So telling us that you want to tie to the euro is what has been on since 1941.
Let me play the devil's advocate. If President Buhari wakes up tomorrow and sign on the eco currency, what happens to Nigeria?
Sign the eco currency?
Yes.
First, there will be no monetary policy. There will be no central bank. Because the central bank, we don't know whether Abidjan or this thing. All the currency centers in Benin, in Enugu, and all that will go because they have no job. We will not be able to put our budget in place. The Ministry of Finance will have a reporting line to, because when you talk of monetary policy and fiscal policy, that is when you run an economy. There will be no import and export. Everything will be on arrival. There will be no certificate of origin. Buying things in Sierra Leone or buying things in Ivory Coast, we just like a man leaving Lagos to go and buy things in Kano. It's now a block. But all the agreements we have signed before, PTA, FTA, Common External Tariff, Custom Union, this is the only sub-region in the world where you talk of a common market and all that when there is no custom union. If there is custom union, why should VAT in Nigeria be 5% or 7.5 now, going as well as 20%, 18 plus 2% in other countries? So you can see the problems we are having. Government and the private sector to close rank. It has never been so bad that the university lecturers and professors have left the little children just like that. When we were growing up in the university, let's give our heart a faculty in the University of Lagos. We built this for them. Obeko was coming to Benin.
Will Nigerians be poorer if President Buhari sign on the eco currency? Will we be richer?
It's difficult to say because I'm not a casual fortune teller.
I know it's difficult. I just asked you the question. But again, we're going to drop the naira. Exchange? We're going to drop the naira.
Yeah, if no, we are going to drop the naira.
Yes.
What will happen to the heap of naira already minted or printed? Have they given us a timeline that for a period of 10 years? Because when the old currency was introduced in 1992, just as we did the Civil War, it was withdrawn from circulation. But when Ghana introduced a brand new CD in 2007, it was side by side. That those who could not read and write, we give out 20 CDs.
20, yeah.
Thinking that is 200,
20 pounds?
2,000. That was about $25 when it was introduced. So there are a lot of things we need to clear.
We need to fix a lot of things. John Isemede, thank you so much. It's nice having you around and tapping into your repertoire or the vast information and expertise that you have. Thank you so much and your experience. Yes, we appreciate that. John Isemede, former Director General and CEO of NASIMA and an international trade expert.